Okay, so today's workshop is going to be about the grades and the grade book. So the first thing I want to look at, right, is in the assignments area. So I'm going to click on assignments. And you're going to see in this course, we have discussions, we have tests, we have participations, we have quizzes, we have assignments, right? So these are the foundations that I'm going to build my grade on. So if I come over and I click on edit, I can say that this group discussions, right? It allows me to add, if I want to skip the lowest grade or do the highest grade, I can do that right in here, the same way that I did in Blackboard. If I click on the plus sign instead of the 3 menu, it then allows me to add an assignment right to this area and how many points it is. So I name it, I put the due date in. And that's not what I wanted to do. If I come up at the top and I click the 3 menu, I can edit the assignment dates. So anything in this assignments area, I can edit the dates, or I can do groups and weights. Right. So I'm going to say my final grade is based on these groups of assignments that I have in my grade book. And then I can say which percentage each item has to that final grade. So if in my syllabus, I say discussions are 10%, I would type a 10 in here. If participation is 5, I would put a 5. If assignments are 25, I would put 25. I'm going to say tests are worth 40. And that leaves me 20, not 2, 2, 20, not 02. And that gives me 100%. And then if I say, I want the quizzes to be more than the assignments, maybe I only want this to be 15 and I want this to be 30. I can do that and then makes a change in my syllabus where I have the grading. And then if I save this, when I go into grades, you'll see that everything that I have in here is all of my papers and all of my assignments. And then I have discussions. So this is going to give me the average of the discussions, which is 10% of the grade. It's going to give me an average of the test, which is 40% of the grade. Participation, quizzes, assignments, and this gives me a total. So if I come in here and I say, Natalie gets a 0 on this, right? It's going to say assignments, which is 15% of the grade, is 0. So it's going to change the total. Does anyone have any questions so far? I can see a couple of people like scratching their heads already.
Diane, do you have a recommendation for the points? Should we just do it out of 100 points to make it easier? Or because I used to do everything out of points, but I found that the students have a hard time understanding what the points mean.
Yes.
So I'm trying to switch over to the percentages. But what I did with my EDU 101 course is that I did all those percentages like you just showed us, but then the assignment still said like 10 points, 20 points or whatever. So when they look at, like when I look at it, it still says 10 points, 20 points. So I'm not sure if I just put everything to 100 and that just makes,
Right, but if you, if this is worth 10 points, right, and they get a 10, that's 100.
okay, so they don't see that, just I do.
And you can choose how,
Like I know,
when you create that,
yeah, like I put in
gradable
points,
item,
right? I
right?
put in points, but then I said show percentage. But when I
So
look
that's
at
what the
my,
students are going to see. You're
right,
going to see the points because that's how
okay,
it shows up here. It's just
okay.
like in Blackboard, right? You had the first thing, whatever you set as the first thing is what the students saw. And
Hmm.
whatever you set as the second thing was what you could see both in the grade book in Blackboard. Now it's just whatever you set for the students. If you have, even though you say 100%, right?
Right.
It's still only 10 points. So you're gonna see out of 10, 0 out of 0.
Hmm.
This test can be worth 100. This is worth 100. This Q&A is out of 0. This is out of 100. This is
Okay.
out of 100.
So
So
then,
just by looking at it, you can quickly say,
right. So then should the rubric show percentage or points? Or does it only just show points?
I think it just shows points, but I'm not positive.
And would that be out of 100 or out of just the 10 points that I allowed for it?
It would be out of the 10 points you allowed for it. So if you click in the rubric, it's going to say 0, percent, 0 points, 1 point, 3 points, right? And the second thing may be 0 points. So the top thing, everything in there would add, if they did perfectly on everything, and there were 3 conditions in the rubric, the most those 3 conditions could add up to would be 10 points, because that's what you said the whole assignment is worth.
But then the student would still see it as a percentage if they got like
But
9
they would,
points and
right, so
90.
they, even though you gave them an 8 out of a 10, they would see an 80, right?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Because that's the percentage. You would see the 8 in here because
Mhm.
that's what you gave them, but they would see, if you set it as a percent, that's what they would see. They would see that percentage.
Okay. Thanks.
Does that make sense now?
I think so. I think
Diana,
you just have to grade something.
I'm, I'm going to interrupt real quick because I was just looking at rubrics, so this is relevant. Um, if you have a rubric already created and you've set like the value of everything in that rubric to be like 50 points, and you have an already created assignment that's worth, say, like 100 points, and you go to attach that rubric to the assignment, Canvas will give you a little pop-up letting you know that your rubric points and your assignment points differ, and shows you how you can change that.
Okay. But if you've already attached the rubric to an assignment, to multiple assignments, then you can't change it, correct? That was the question I had sent you earlier. Well, sent not you, but Site Lab in general earlier today.
I think so. I'm still looking at the rest of it.
Okay.
Do the points differ on those assignments?
No, I mean, so the rubric that I have, like I set it up, out of 20 points. But then when I was going back through and I was like, oh, I changed the percentage. Am I supposed to make that percentage? And so I tried to fix one of them to be out of 100%, out of 100 points instead of like, I have a final that was like in a final that was 120 points, let's say. But so then I changed the rubric to be 100 points because I was like, oh, maybe I was supposed to do it like that instead. But I guess I can put it back to being 120 points then because they only see the percentage.
Right.
Okay.
When you go into the grade book, you'll notice that the menu disappears on this left-hand side. If you click the hamburger menu up at the top near the course name, you can reopen that menu. As with the old system, you can export your grade book. So you can export the entire grade book or just the current grade book view. You can set policies in the grade book. So I just clicked on the gear at the top in grades, and that's going to open up a menu. So I can say automatically apply for any grade missing submission a 0. So I don't have to go back in. If this was due yesterday and the journal week 1 was due yesterday and John and the test student did not submit it, it will automatically put a 0 in for them. You can also automatically deduct for late submission. So I can say I want to deduct 2% by the hour or by the day until the lowest grade that they would get. Let's say the lowest grade I would give them would be a 60, which is still an F, but a 60 is better than a 0. Or you could say, you know, the most they can earn if they're late 10 days is a 50, right? And that's going to apply that not to a specific assignment, that's going to apply that to the whole grade book. So every assignment, everything that's in the grade book. The next tab over is grade posting policy. So you can choose to automatically post grades. So the assignments that as soon as they entered the grades, as soon as you enter the grade, it will be visible to the student. Unless it's already been hidden, it will remain hidden. Or you can choose manually posting grades, which means that anything by default is hidden, and you have to go in and manually make it visible to the student. The advanced tab allows you to overwrite a final grade. So let's say you gave 2 extra credit assignments and student A did it. You can say, I want to allow overwrite of the final grade. And even though that final grade says that student has a 72, you can just click in there and add a 74 because they got the 2 points for the extra credit assignments. This is a really nice feature. It's not something that was available in Blackboard. So that's a bonus. And you can choose the view options. So you can arrange by the default order. You can change the assignments by alphabetical. You can change it by the due date. You can change it by the points, or you can change it by module. So anything that's in week 1 would be listed first. Anything that's in week 2, that second module, would be next. So it would be chronologically by. So even though you have something in week 1 that is due after something that's in week 1, week 4, it would still be by module. So I'm going to say by module, right? And then you have choices. What do you want to see? Do you want to show notes? Do you want to say show unpublished assignments? Do you want to hide assignment group totals? Do you want them to see the total and override columns? So if you want them to if you want the assignment group totals to show, you would check that off. And then you can color code the status. So if something's late, it will automatically be blue, but I can edit that and change what color it is. If you have a student who has, I'm going to apply these. And now you'll notice that some things have turned red. I don't think I have any due date, so nothing went in as a 0. But this does show that the student is late. Now, let's say that you have a student who is colorblind, right? And some of the colors, those pastel-y colors, do not show up well for someone who is colorblind. If the student clicks on this person in the lower right-hand corner, they can say, I am colorblind. And change that. Right here, sorry. And they can set the contrast of the web page so that it works for them. And if you turn that on, you'll notice that the pink goes away and the contrast is different. If you have a student who's dyslexic, I just can't speak, it will turn on the fonts that make it easier for them to read. This is a new tool. And there's a lot of pieces in there for students. It's also great for those of us who have glasses and want the text a little bigger. You now don't have to put 14 size text in your items. You can just quickly make the text bigger through the tool. Back to the grade center. So what you can be in modules, you can be in quizzes, you can be in anywhere where you have something that has a grade. Click on it. And speed grader comes up in all of those items. So there's many ways to get to how to grade the work. And how to submit feedback to the students for that grade. If I click in the top left-hand corner, it will bring me right back into the gradebook. Any questions?
Diane, can I ask you a quick question? Earlier, you had shown like automating deduction of points over time for a late assignment, but that applied to all grades. So
it applies to everything in the
so you can't have, like, for example, if you have assignments throughout the semester that you allow late submissions for, but let's say like your final paper or a final exam or something, or a test has a very concrete date, there's no way of like changing the settings for that one particular assignment. Like, let's say you know, for any other assignment, you accept late submissions, but the final paper is literally due the last day of the semester.
they when you create the assignment, if you create the due date with a hard due date, students can't access it anyway. So they wouldn't be able to submit after that date.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
And we're working on that end date piece, Melissa, we will get back to you on that.
Thank you.
But thanks for showing that to us, because that's definitely problematic.
Yep.
So yeah. And then we had a whole conversation about time, which just gave me a headache with, military time. Should it be 0000 or 2400, or everything could be, and then they lost me in that conversation. You can apply filters to your gradebook. So let's say I only want to see assignments that I've for groups, or things that have so I don't have any group decisions, I don't think. So let's see, discussions or tests or participation, which is unpublished, so it's going to, but anything, so if I click on just discussions, right? Only things that I have as discussions are going to come up. I can also search by student, so it will just filter down, so I can only see that one student. Yes, Anthony?
I'm working on unmuting. Hey, did you copy our groups over from Blackboard?
No, because groups work differently in Canvas than they did in Blackboard. So groups did not copy over when we did the copy. But if you reach out to me, groups are super simple to create in Canvas. You just go into people and you can create them there, or you can create them by the assignment, depending on if you want a certain number of groups or a certain number of people to the groups. But reach out, email me, and we can set up a time that we can meet and talk about it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, your 172, I had to rebuild from scratch because it just didn't, it wouldn't come over no matter what I did. Is that the one that had the groups in it?
No, they all have the groups in it. I always use this trick in Blackboard. So so whenever I got a student with a disability accommodation, it was double time.
Yeah, you don't have.
created,
You don't have to
Go
do
on.
that in here anymore. If you have a student with a disability and they have an accommodation, you set it on the first quiz and it automatically sets it for that student for every quiz, every assignment after that. So if it's time and a half and you have time on everything, just automatically sets it. You don't have to do the groups anymore.
Oh, wow, that's a good improvement. Great. Thanks.
You're very welcome. You can also do so if you have a very large grade book or a lot of students and you just want to look at a specific thing, you could type that in here, and then it would be the introduction discussion. You'll notice that all of those averages will still show up. And then if I want to do an override of this grade, so this student has a 76 and I really want them to have an 80, right? I could just type that in and it'll tell me that they now have a B minus. So that when I go to put the grades in, it will show. Even though it says a C here, I know that they actually have a B minus. Any questions about any of that? Applying the filter is really great if you're meeting with a student. So sorry, applying the search student is really great if you're meeting with a specific student and they want to look at the grade book, because then you can just quickly choose them, have that up and ready when they come in, and they only see their own work, not anyone else's.
Diane, can you just show one more time how you got to that override?
Oh, so when I did the gear, right? And I did the, I think it was and under advanced, I said, allow final grade override. And when I checked that box, right, it automatically created a category at the end of the,
Oh, I get it. So can you do that at any point in time? Like if
Yes,
want
you
to do it
can.
at the end? Okay.
you can, so it doesn't make any difference. So this is the total for this student, but you had extra credit stuff. So you want to give them the points for the extra credit. So you're going to put that in there.
Is that the only place where you would put extra credit? Is at the end like that, or can you add it in somehow?
I knew somebody was going to ask that, and I really wanted to. and as I was 5 minutes late already, time ran out. Alex or Asani or Andrew, have you worked with extra credit at all?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll put
It's
it on my
my-
longer list of.
For extra credit, I did see an example of it where you created another assignment group and you added a weight to that, which then pushed the percentage above 100%. That might be a way of doing it. And then if they do get something within that a
Category.
grade within that assignment that's in that category, it would boost their total points above potentially above 100%.
So you could actually have the categories total above 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is if you had if you had something that was worth 0 points, right? Let me just see if I put in a 5 here, right? What it does. I don't think it does anything. Oh no, so if you had an extra credit assignment, you could say it was worth 0 points, right?
Mhm.
And anyone who didn't do it wouldn't be penalized for not doing it. And anyone who did do it would get the credit for it.
Okay, thank you.
It would boost their final grade.
I also
But
found
because I gave that student a 5, it gave them 5 whole grade points. I would probably just do 0.5, right? And then it wouldn't give them, it would give them something, but not 5 grade points, which would, if they were at a B minus, it would put them way up. So that's the other thing you have to think about when you're doing extra credit in this, like if that's the only thing in that category. If you give them, it would be grade points, not assignment points.
I also found a Canvas resource that I've linked in chat about different ways you can add extra credit in a course.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions about grades or grading?
Well, I have one more thing. If you do like a pretend assignment when you go into student view, how do you get rid of that so it's not something that you have to grade? So like I pretended I was a student and submitted one of my assignments just to the test, but now I want to get rid of it because it's attached to a rubric that I want to change.
Yeah, there's a reset button. Diane, go to assignments and then click on.
Like, yeah, I was just gonna say, wait, I'm looking for the button, but yeah, it's because I'm in the wrong place. So if I go to student view, right, I can say reset student and it'll wipe out anything I did as that student.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And then when you go back, so if I've made a bunch of changes, right, I can reset the student, right? And then when it brings me back in, it's like I've never been in this course before, so I'm seeing it for the first time. So anything I did is gone. Anything I clicked on doesn't show that I've clicked on it. So if you're testing like Mastery Pass, or you're testing, do this before you do this, or any of that kind of thing, if you reset the student, you can see if the changes you made are exactly what you really wanted them to be, or if just what you think they're going to be.
Thank you. I tried it. It's all gone.
Sometimes I'm like in something and I'm looking for the button and I'm like, why isn't this button here? I still haven't gotten super comfortable with navigating this as I was with, Blackboard I could do in my sleep. I will get there, but thank you, Andrew, for pointing that out because I was definitely in the wrong place. Any other questions?
So if I attach my discussion rubric to each discussion,
Then you can't edit it.
and I can't edit it. So what do I do?
Sorry,
I'm
Will,
gonna have to get back. I'm gonna have
yeah,
to
sorry,
get back to you on that.
I put a link in the chat to this as well, but this is where you can get to. So you edit your test, and then there's a reports tab up at the top here. And then this is where you have item analysis. If you use the outcomes mapping, you can do reports here as well. But the item analysis is the big thing that will give you like the what's it called? The difference, the mean, averages, all those types of things. It's added. You build your quiz is what it's called. And then up at the top there's a reports tab. I knew it was inside the quiz somewhere. But if you click the link I put in the chat, it shows you some screenshot examples. And it's pretty user-friendly. Yeah, highest percent score, mean score, average attempts, how long it took them on average, performance of each question,
And
distribution.
random question, I think you mentioned this, when you do an assessment, can you tag it with an outcome? So you're like, students, this
You would have to
assessment is,
you'd have to put the outcomes in. Right now they're
Well,
outcomes.
so
I think Danny is working on that.
but
yeah,
if we
so
did
I-
that, if we
yes.
did that,
Yes, so I am working with Danny actually on that, maybe having some specific stuff on it in the fall, but she's loaded all of the gen ed outcomes into
Yeah.
Canvas. And you might see that along the way as you're building content that you can map those outcomes to your assessments. And that is something you can report on in the under here. There's outcomes over on the left of every site. So if you have any outcomes mapped here, you'd be able to pull them in and then report on them. But
that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
outcomes are on the site. Yep. More to come on that.
I'm using Windows 11, so if you go to that bottom left-hand corner, it just opens up some kind of weird screen.
Oh, I see. Because I'm like, I don't know why that's opening up. It's because I'm on my way
It's
to the
because
I'm on my way
yeah.
to the button and I hover over that. That
Yeah, because I had a problem with my computer, so they gave me a new computer, which is more problematic than the old one. I just wish I would have left it alone. But now I'm on Windows 11 and it does all of this weird stuff.
Alrighty, so any other questions?
Any other questions?
Diane, I'd like to talk to you about my one course, but there's no reason to have everybody else hang around with it for that.